Going live in 5, 4, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Daily Code, episode 18. I'm assertchris, and tonight we are looking at ReactJS and material design. If you're new to material design, don't worry. I started reading about it tonight. But I got a pretty good idea of some of the things that it covers, and I'm pretty interested to see how we can apply some of it to the ReactJS components we've been building already. So this is going to be sort of two parts to tonight's thing. The first is, or today's thing, if it's morning for you, good morning. The first is looking at a few of the concepts described in material design. So we'll look at things like color and shadows and that kind of thing, although that's just a tiny piece. The second thing is that we'll look at a resource of React components, a library of React components that are already built with material design in mind, and see if there's anything good there and how to use them, and just develop generally on stuff we've been doing. If you're new to ReactJS, I've been doing a little bit of ReactJS stuff in the last few weeks, and you can probably check out some archived stuff on Twitch or on YouTube. I'll post the link later to YouTube. Although I seem to be a bit behind in terms of editing the videos once they get to YouTube, because I've got to slice them and make sure that there's no like empty space on either side of the clips and cut them up into parts and stuff. So I'm a little bit behind on that, but I'll pick up with it, and I'll do a link to that later in the show. Right now, let's have a look at what material design is. In fact, let me get chat up here so I can see if there are any questions. Okay, so material design is this thing by Google, which is like, it's kind of like a style guide for the apps that they make, and it covers just a lot of stuff. In fact, if I go to the contents here, you can see there's things for how animation works, how to style things, and that's a very broad section because there's a lot of stuff in there. Different layout components that are consistent across applications and contexts. Things for styling shadows, for picking colors, for doing accents, for doing for grading the importance of fonts in your application. All of that stuff is in here, and I've read probably about 15% of it in total, because there's a lot here. So I'm probably going to make some mistakes, but I'm going to learn as I go along. And if you see I'm doing stuff that you know is wrong, then by all means point it out in chat so I can make my stuff better. The example application we're working on is the same ReactJS example application we've been doing for a long time. And there's a little bit of cleanup that I want to do, because I've just been working on it ad hoc, and I did some refactors to this yesterday and a few of the days before, and I actually haven't committed any of those changes to GitHub because I just haven't liked the code quality of it yet. So, to recap, there is this examples folder with stuff in that gives us a browsable example of our application. This is the serve command line utility that you can install with npm. So I've just gone npm install -g serve. If you do serve, then it creates a local application at port 3000, and you can browse this. So if we go into examples, we can see the example app that I've been working with so far. It's supposed to create the idea of a CMS system where you edit pages like many CMS systems do. So you can see the pages that are in the application, you can update them, you can create new pages which animate just slightly and delete them. That's pretty simple. It used to store with WebSockets, and I still have a WebSocket implementation commented out in this code base, but recently I changed it to use local storage because then I have less stuff to run while I'm debugging and just generally developing. So I moved that local storage stuff into backend.js. It's an ES6 class. Oh, I also created a bit of an abstraction around window local storage, so I can use just get and set as static methods on this local store. And there's some JSON encoding going on just to make my life a little bit easier. So the backend gets all pages, updates them, creates new ones, deletes ones that I want deleted. That's pretty useful. But this is just the local storage implementation I kind of maybe want to rename this to local store backend. I think I'm going to rename this to local store backend. And if only JavaScript had interfaces like PHP, am I right? So local store backend, which means I need to change the references to this. Firstly, there's a thing here, backend, I'll just rename that to local-store-backend to mirror the source code file. In index, I need to change that as well, so this will be local store backend. And where I create that, I don't create new backend, I create new local store backend. Okay, I can probably even create an instance of this because I'd prefer that. So var store var backend is new local store backend, and just pass an instance of that as the property to page admin. I'm not going to go over what this page admin does. You should probably check out the Twitch archives if you're interested. If you're interested in seeing how this how these components are structured, check out the Twitch archives because there's plenty of details there. I went over it quite a bit yesterday. So we create an instance of the backend, and this is the new aliased stuff. Let's refresh this with the console open and just make sure that it's working. So no, there's a problem. Okay, so we import local store backend from local store backend. Index references that as local store backend, src local store backend. So this kind of looks normal. I wonder what the deal is with this. Oh, there we go. Okay, so local store backend. I have some prop types validation here to say this needs to be instance of local store backend. And I could probably even simplify this because I was looking through, I saw something like backend is React prop types, wow, prop types instance of. So I could probably do this, but I don't want to. I like the custom validation I did. Okay, so that stuff's there. I think this should work now if I refresh. Let's see. Okay, so it does work. I've got some errors here for the transition group, but I'm going to be changing how that works anyway when it comes to animation with material design, so I won't worry about those warnings now. This is working, and after I've renamed the local store backend. So now what I want to create is WebSocket backend. Okay, and this will mirror a similar structure here, except these will be different. This will be WebSocket backend, and I'll just put like custom stuff in here. Okay, so if we go into here, we can see the code that we've got going for this already. Do something like this. I'll just copy that, even though I have to construct. There you go. Okay, so the way that we had this working is we had the previous implementation was that we had a constructor that accepts a WebSocket. I need to validate this. I'm not validating it at the moment, but I need to. On open, it emits an open event, which means that we can create a WebSocket backend instance, and then we can attach events to this backend instance for when it opens to fetch data from it. So it's just kind of a little bit of security for us to wait for a connection to come through before we start querying data from it. Okay, so that was the first thing. The next thing was that we wanted to parse when messages come in. So if the message is of a type data, then we emit the data event. This event name is different to the local store backend, but I don't really want to change the stuff now. Then we have a list of deleted things and a list of updates that have to happen. This actually gets deleted because that was from the original implementation. Okay, we can delete that, and we don't need mapper and filter anymore. That's part of the original implementation. update, we just send a message, delete, we just send a message, and then create, I'll just throw new error. Create not implemented. Okay, because I don't want to implement that right now. So we've got the constructor which attaches some events, and then we have a method to request all items. This will trigger a data event. So that's what we listen for in our component, and reflect the JSON data from that. Update again will trigger a message and will trigger this data event. Same with delete, and I assume create would as well if we implemented it now, but we're not going to implement it now because I couldn't be bothered. Okay, but I just wanted to create this so that we can delete all this commented code that's in here, so I can neaten this up and push to GitHub. So I'll do that, and I'll create an alias to this if this ever gets used again. So local store backend, WebSocket backend. Okay, I'll also move the stuff down because I don't want it right there. In fact, I can even move. No, I'll leave the event emitter there. So this is our base component that all our components inherit from. These are the CMS components that are independent of the backend that is used with them. This is a local store abstraction for window.localstore. It gives us a nice interface and some JSON serialization and default parameters for get. And then we've got our two backends, one that does local storage, so it uses this abstraction, and one that does WebSockets, but we're not going to use the WebSocket one now. It's just aliased here because for completeness sake, wow. Okay, the imports go in this order, so in terms of the aliases that I have, so I'll do that. I think this is in a fit state to push up to GitHub, which is not bad timing. Okay, GS. Oh, GS is a alias that I have for get status. It's the same thing. GAC is get add all and get commit all with the following message. So I'll say cleaned up and added backend. Okay, and then GP is get push. I've already added an upstream, which is why it's not moaning at me. Now something's wrong here because it is a lot of insertions. Oh, React with add-ons. Okay, the insertions are React with add-ons. Get pull. There's obviously a change to the PHP side of things. In fact, there is. I remember there was a change with Eris stuff that one of the folks on stream did, which is pretty cool. Okay, so get push. Oh yes, that's right. So the change took out the vendor folder because I mistakenly committed that, and it also fixed some things with the survey, if I'm not mistaken. So what did this do? Oh, I think I remember. It was array values because the indices were non-sequential, and that was causing an issue. They were read as strings. That fixed that issue. So now we should be able to go to GitHub assertchris. Something here. Okay, repositories. ReactJS. It was actually right at the top. Who'd have thought? Okay, so this is our. Okay, so that also changed as well. Okay, so we've got like some sparse instructions here for how to run this if you want to run it with a WebSocket. And the examples is our most up-to-date code, should be, I hope. Yeah, pretty simple. So the rest of the stuff, the implementations of local store backend and page admin, all come from the source folder, which is pretty cool. It should have all of our classes, including local store backend. Yay! It's pretty neat. I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, so this is a good state to be in now. I am programming JavaScript, ReactJS components. Yeah. Okay, so this repo is nice and clean now. It has the most up-to-date stuff. Now, what I want to do is I want to try and apply some material design aspects to the list of pages I have here. And it's not going to be comprehensive because I just don't know enough about material design to make this completely conform to that. I'm actually just going to do my best with a little bit of time that I have, and maybe pick it up at a later point, just make it look a bit nicer. So I'll jump right ahead to style and typography, because one thing I noted is that there is a recommended font for this. So Roboto as the default. I think for all Western languages Roboto is used, and then there's another one, Noto, okay, which is like for the full for languages not supported by Roboto. So I have to find this. I can probably find these at fonts.google.com. I'm thinking. No, Dajo, it's going to be like a lot of JavaScript and a bit of CSS and general web dev stuff. That didn't work. Google Fonts. Okay. So that subdomain was, that CNAME was disabled. Probably from years ago as well. Okay, so the font family that we want is Roboto. There we go, okay. Add to collection. And Noto? Well, I mean, I'm always going to use English-like languages for this stuff. I'm not actually going to localize this right now. So maybe just Roboto is fine. Let's look at downloading this. Is there only one variant for this? That's pretty weird. I'll just download them all. Why not, hey? So one font family, all of those variants, and download. May as well, right? Okay, so I don't think we can use these directly because they're going to be TTF fonts, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so what we need to do is use something like Font Squirrel. And this will do some font conversions for us, which is pretty cool. And maybe what we can even do is have a separate style sheet here, so we'll just say index.css. I won't use Sass or less or anything like that for the moment. But then, generators, I think where we need to go. And I think this will also only let us convert 4 at a time, if I remember correctly. So, Roboto. I'll just do these first 4. Yes. All the fonts on fonts.google.com, to my recollection, you're allowed to embed on any website for any purpose, which is pretty cool. I just don't think you're allowed to resell them, is the thing. So, this takes a while, uploading the fonts, and it'll create different versions for us. So it'll convert to formats that are supported in all browsers. Colossus. Maybe I could try what? Okay, can you describe it? What am I looking for? You're gonna have to describe it. I don't think you can paste links directly in chat, unfortunately. But by all means, describe it. Because I don't know what you're talking about. Wow, this takes a while. Are they really that big? They can't be that big. They really are. Whoa. Okay, so download, converted that stuff. Wow, there's a lot in there. I should probably try and reduce the number of glyphs in here. I'm not really concerned because for the moment it's going to be local download, so I don't really mind if it's large because it's going to be from a local file system. Colossus, leaving me hanging, man. Oh. Oh, sweet. Okay. Hold on, I just remembered that this flux is kicking in again. Keeps on telling me to go to sleep. Okay. Material design library? I'll go back to here as well. Yeah, sorry about that. Can you tell me where to get to from here? Resources, probably that. Design support library. Is this it? No, that's XML, it's not that. Web. Okay, I'm here. Starter kit. Is that it? Very cool. Okay, I'll start that and I'll download it. Check that out. Okay, so we've got these four. In fact, maybe I'll check because maybe the starter kit has the resources that I'm looking for. And then maybe I won't have to download all this stuff. Fonts. It totally does. It totally does. Awesome. Okay, I won't convert that then. Okay, so thank you for that, Colossus. There is already a starter kit which has these fonts converted, and I assume the style sheets to go with that. If you want to do custom fonts that aren't Roboto or Noto, you can follow the approach that I've done. So go and get them from a reputable source like Google Fonts, which allows you to use them for whatever project you have, and download the fonts. And if you have the rights to use them in the context you want to use them, then you can upload them through FontSquirrel and generate different versions for this. So if we look at WebFontKit, just to show you what this actually generated, it gives you a whole bunch of different formats, and it also gives you some example code for how to embed this in your style sheet. So there's some uses of that, and then I think there's the font face stuff over here. So you can just copy the font face stuff out there. Really good example. But Colossus pointed me to a web starter kit. No. Okay. Sorry about that, Colossus. Material to Google developer website. Wow. You can watch me Google web. Okay, I'm back at the home screen. I mean, I think I found what you were pointing me to anyway, or at least I found something useful, which is a starter app that has converted fonts, which is what I was busy doing anyway. So I'll use that as a starting point, I think, for now. Examples, fonts. Okay, and then back to downloads and starter kit and not style guide, styles. Aww. I don't want to use Sass though. That's the only thing. I have to run this in Atom, won't I? Styles, components, typography. Type small. Modules? No, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. Style sheet, styles, main. Maybe I can actually just build this. I don't know if I want to though. Import that. Where are my font faces? There we go. That's what I wanted. Font face. Okay. I'll minimize that, and in index.css I'll put this stuff in here. And so Roboto condensed. Maybe for starters, material design light. I don't see that. Developers google.com. I don't see that in there. If I go to web, in fact I'll search here, material design light. Web starter kit. Oh, I see. Material design light. Okay. I kind of like what I have with for the moment. Thank you for showing me this. I'll definitely go and spend time through here, but I haven't really used that yet, so I'm not sure what to expect there. I think for the moment I'll just carry on using this for now. But thank you very much for pointing me at that, because I would never have found that. I'm pretty sure. Oh, also I need to probably reference this somewhere in here. So, link rel style sheet href. Okay, refresh. Does that work? No. Link rel style sheet href index.css. Interesting. So, oh, these are probably not supposed to be absolute references either. Does that work? Better? Yes, that loads the right font. Okay. Okay, so that's one thing. That's the body text. We probably want to do for input and button as well, because I don't think those are inherited. And we'll have to muck about with the styling a little bit here. What I think though is I'm going to take a 2-minute break quickly, so stick around and enjoy the music.